and back again. Anybody have a life that just seems to be up and down and up and down, and you want to know how to deal with it? Seems like, and what I'm going to do to save time is I'm going to actually just go to the text we really need to look at. Now, we know the story of Joseph and how Joseph ended up in Israel, in Egypt rather, and his brothers now come to him after they've done him wrong and say, you know, you need to be careful how you treat folk, because what goes up, just because you're riding high today doesn't mean you're going to be riding high. So now after his brothers have done him in, we come to the end of the story. Thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespasses of your brothers. Joseph's dad is trying to fix something now, and their sins, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespasses of the servants of the God of your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Then his brothers also went and fell down before his face, and they said, behold, we are your servants. Joseph said, do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? The first thing we got to realize is just because we end up on top does not mean we have to treat folk the way they treated us. But here's what I want us to focus on. But as for you, you meant it for evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring about as it is this day to save many people alive. Now therefore do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. When things go from bad to worse and back again. Now notice I use the word worse, W-O-R-S-T. I did not use the word worse, W-O-R-S-E. Because when things are worse, they can continue to get worse. But when you are at your worst, W-O-R-S-T, they can't get any worse than what they are. You are at a state where you are at the bottom of the barrel. Joseph is a classic example of the appropriate manner in which a person of faith ought to view his life. The one thing we need to understand is God determines the path and process by which his purposes are accomplished. Sometimes life is up, sometimes life is down, but God has a purpose, meaning that it's imperative that we understand this. Life needs to be viewed as a sine wave and not a linear path. You can't see it, but there's a straight line. Most of us think life is a straight line, and every now and then we drop down, every now and then we go up. But life is really a sine wave. We're constantly in flux. We're constantly in a state of vicissitude. We're constantly up and down. It's constantly up and down. It's like electricity. Now there's a good point in this, because what happens, look at the lights for just a moment in this building. Just look up at the lights for just a moment. They look like it's a constant light, don't they? It's not. AC power fluctuates. And they're flickering, but they're flickering so fast, you can't see it. That's the way your life is. Your life is up and down, but we're moving so fast, we don't understand that it's up and down. Now, there's another current called DC power or direct power. Now, direct power is a more consistent power, but it doesn't last very long. DC power is what you get from your batteries. When you have these, how many times does this thing run out on me in the building? You don't want DC power in your life. You want an AC power that understands I'm going to be up, I'm going to be down, but ultimately I'm going to be okay. Life is seldom static or an even keel. This life can take us to the highest of highs and then plunge us into the lowest of lows. One day we're on top of the world, the next day the world is on top of us. One day everything we touch turns to gold, the next day every piece of gold we turns to lead. The one unchanging thing about life is it is ever changing. And when we drop to our lowest lows, and I've even been guilty of saying that, I've had a setback. So I need to, but I think it's a setup for a comeback. I've had a setback. Anybody ever said I've had a setback? I said that. But the problem with that is snapshot thinking. We don't understand how God really works. If Romans 8:28 means anything, he says, for all things work together for good. It can't be a setback if God is in the middle of it. Yeah. I don't care what you're going through, it cannot be a setback. It's just God working in you the way he wants to work in you. I believe it behooves every one of us to see everything that occurs in our path as a process that will eventually bring us to our God-intended purpose and his will for our lives. And the problem is, because we are mortal, we can only see two dimensions. I can see my past, and I can see my present. That's all I can see. That's all I can judge my life on, is what's happened to me in the past and what's happening to me in the present. Now, the challenge of this process is that we view life in snapshots. I guarantee you, I can guarantee you, whatever you've done that was wrong, when folks saw you, that's the way they see you fail. Whatever you've done, that's the way folks continue to see you. Because we view people in snapshots. If I like you, I remember the good in you. If I don't like you, so I've learned one thing. If folk love me, they love me. If they don't, so I don't spend a lot of time trying to make folk love me. And this is not good English, but it's showing up good theology, that ain't gonna never love me. I spend my life trying to figure out how I can be the best me I can be and not worry about, because see, just like I got stuff to fix. And so we have this challenge of, but see what happens is, when we freeze you in a moment of time, wherever that time is, frozen objects have no capacity to change. And that's what folks say. You'll never be anything but what you are, and they freeze you in their minds as they want you to be. But how many of us know what folks think of you doesn't have to be who you are? How folks feel about you doesn't have to make you feel bad about yourself. Therefore, we see our lack of mobility, our lack of change, a progress in a situation, a cessation in our progress. We see it as a regression or as a setback. Joseph went through some major upheavals. Jacob, now this is Joseph's daddy, settled again in the land of Canaan, where his father had lived as a foreigner. This is the account of Jacob and his family. When Joseph was 17 years old, he often tended his father's flocks. He worked for his brothers. Now watch this. Joseph tended the flocks, and he worked not with his brothers, but for. As long as you're working for folk, they don't have a problem with you. As long as folk think they are above you, if you don't believe it, get out of that hoopty and drive up in a new car. Move into a nice house. Come in a new dress, new shoes. Get a promotion on your job and see how folks feel about you. So he says, he often tended his father's, he worked for his half-brothers, the sons of his father's wife, Bilhah and Zilpah. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because of their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a kind word to him. Anybody been there? Anybody hate you just because you were born? Anybody hate? And see, here's the problem. They saw him as a half-brother because they had different moms. But the problem with that is you still got the same daddy. And my father always taught us, I don't care who you marry. If they've got children when you marry them, they're not a half child, they all yours. If they can't be all yours, don't marry. And here's something else you need to see. When we come into the church, all of us have different moms, but we have the same father. God is all, at that point, God is all of our Father. Now here's the key. Here's the key. God gives favor to whom he desires to give it to. And some folk get upset because God gives you favor. But one way to get favor is to humble yourself and let God know I understand you don't have to do what you do, but I sure appreciate it. Some of us, when God gets to blessing us, we act like he has to bless us. You know, we not only the whole bag of chips, we the dip too. But I don't care how God blesses you, you ought to turn around and be a blessing to somebody else. Joseph's brothers were guilty of snapshot thinking. They were guilty. Joseph's brothers were guilty of this. They perceived him as only that bragging little pest that their father doted on. Joseph was the apple of his father's eye. Joseph was a little tattletale. Did you see he went and told his daddy, you know what the boys out there doing? And the Bible says they couldn't say a kind word. They hated him. His brothers literally hated him because of who he was right now. Didn't I tell you the problem with snapshot thinking? When you have snapshot thinking, all you can see is the person as they are now. And Joseph didn't make anything better. Daddy gave him a special gift. He's the apple of his daddy's eye. Joseph can do no wrong. He's on top. But then watch what happens. One night Joseph had a dream. And when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. You can't tell folk your dreams. You have to be careful of telling folk your dreams. Because there are folk, and stop believing that lie, you can kill a dreamer, but you cannot kill the dream. There are some dreams when you kill the dreamer, that dream is dead forever. Stop destroying folks' hope. Stop destroying folks' lives just because you're a hater. Listen to this dream, he said. We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly my bundle stood up and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before me. Joseph doesn't have a clue. Now why would you tell folk that hate you they want to bow down to you? His brothers responded, so you think you'll be our king? Do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us? And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about it. By telling them his dreams, he was only fanning the flames of their hatred. I told you before, church, it's not always good to tell folk your dreams. Some people do not want you to seemingly rise above them. And the reason I say seemingly rise above you, them, is because when God begins to elevate you, he begins to elevate you so you can reach back and bring somebody else up. If everybody's on the bottom, how we... Every now and then I swell up with a little pride because I'm just a little country preacher. I grew up in the big city, but now I'm just a country preacher. But I get to travel not only around the United States, but I get to travel internationally to preach. And Satan will get in your heart and tell you, boy, you somebody. Yeah. But I have to remember that it is God's grace, it is God's goodness, because while I'm riding high, there may be, there's Sundays, there's years when I'm gone all the time. There may come some years when y'all get tired of seeing me. Yeah. Because nobody stays up all the time. Amen. That's right. So, Joseph, being the spoiled little brat that he was, never picked up on the fact that he was getting on his brothers last Thursday. Yeah. And Waylon can tell you, my sisters teased me about this. When I was a little boy, because I was the baby boy, and the only boy at the house at that time, because my older brother was so much older than me, they really never spent any time with me. They just doted on me. I was the apple of their eye. But I got to thinking I was so much that when they made me mad, I would tell them, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to just go to bed. Y'all will miss me if I ain't in here. So what they would start doing is making me mad. See, when you get to thinking too much of yourself, folk love you, but they don't have to put up with it. So soon Joseph had another dream. And again, he told his brothers about it. Listen, I've had another dream, he said. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me. Now Joseph still can't shut up. Still cannot shut up. So at this point, the father that created this whole family dynamic begins to speak up. This time he told the dream to his father as well as to his brothers. But his father scolded him. Now, he should have scolded him a long time ago. Because it's obvious Joseph was a spoiled little brat. What kind of dream is that he had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground on the ground before you? It's hard. It's hard for somebody to tell you, I'm going to be above you one day. It's hard to listen to that, especially when it's your family. So what you do is you just do what you need to do and don't tell folk your dreams. And it's not about being over them. God was just showing Joseph something that was going to happen later on. And in his immaturity, he got excited and wanted to tell everybody what he was going to be. But then, look at what he says in verse 11. But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dreams meant. Joseph was riding high. However, what goes up must come down. Joseph's father sent him to check on his brothers without considering the fact that they did not love him the way he loved them. Joseph's father, Jacob, says, go check on your brothers. Go check on your brothers and see how they're doing. It's a dangerous thing when you know your children are at odds. And you send the one they're at odds with in the midst of... Because just because you're family doesn't mean everybody loves you. Just because you sit in a church family doesn't mean everybody loves you. I've had preachers tell me, and they said it jokingly. One preacher in particular said it several times. He said it jokingly, but it reveals his heart. But Payne, I'm going to start lying on you. Can't nobody get a preaching engagement with you. Said it several times.
All right now.
That reveals to me how you feel. And I got news for you. I'm not bragging, I'm not boasting, but if God blesses me, however he blesses me, I'm just going to thank him. Take the task he has assigned me and work on it. Because while I'm trying to fix folks that are behind your back, while you're trying to fix folks that are behind your back, lying and conniving, that's time you can spend doing God's work. You don't have time to chase down the detractors. Now, he goes and when Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. And as he approached, they made plans. Isn't that tragic? Now Joseph has gone from being that little boy that's loved to death by his dad to being sent into a den of wolves who are his brothers. Isn't that something? He was up, now he's on his way down. Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal is eating him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams. We would all possibly see this as a setback. But watch God at work. Watch God at work. I'm not going to get too far into this. But what happens now is God begins to come to his rescue. When Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. Let's not kill him, he said. Why should we shed any blood? He says, now, let me give you an alternative. See, sometimes folk try to get you the least of two evils. Reuben said, let's not kill him. Let's get rid of him another way. I'm so glad that there's somebody that will always come to your rescue when folk are trying to kill you. Do I have a witness? There's always somebody that will come to your rescue that knows the plot and will not allow you to be destroyed. Amen. God always has somebody, because what they didn't understand is they killed Joseph, the whole lineage of Christ is going to be messed up. You can't mess up what God has already planned. Let's just throw him into the empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying hands on him. Joseph was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. Again, you can't tell folk everything you got in mind. You cannot tell folk. Reuben said, we'll put him in the cistern. He'll die. But what he did tell him was, we're going to put him in the cistern, and when y'all leave, I'm coming to get him out. Don't always think folk are trying to harm you. Sometimes folk are taking you out of harm's way, but you just don't realize it. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off his beautiful robe he was wearing. That tells you right there, they hated him. They couldn't, you know, when you walk in, sometimes folk ripping your clothes off you with their eyes. Then they grabbed him and threw him in the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. God at work again. Because the cistern was just a well. Now what if they had thrown him in a well with water in it? When God puts us in a downward cycle, don't you know God is in all of this? Even though folk are doing it, God is still, we got to go through some stuff to develop us into the people we need to be. And so there was no water in it. Then they, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming toward them. It was a group of Ishmaelites, traders, taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Isn't it funny how folk can destroy you and sit down and eat after they do? It doesn't even bother you. They can sit down and have a good meal at your expense. Then Joseph said to his brothers, what will we gain by killing our brother? Judah rather, said, we have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelite traders. And after all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. Now, isn't that rationalizing? Yeah. We won't kill him, we'll just sell him. Because he's our brother. Yeah. So when the Ishmaelites, who were the Midianite traders, came by Joseph's brothers, pulled him up out of the business, and sold him for 20 pieces of silver. Now, what does that sound like? You remember what happened to Jesus? At least they gave you a little bit more for Jesus. And the traders took him to Egypt. Now that's where the story was. Sometime later, Reuben returned to get Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, the boy is gone. What will I do now? Then the brothers killed a young goat, dipped Joseph's blood robe in blood. People get denied. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message. Look at what we found. Doesn't this robe belong? Now watch the verbiage here. Doesn't this robe belong to your son? Yeah. Folk would treat you like you anything but kinfolk. Yeah. Your mom. One of my granddaughters, those two 13-year-olds, they got miles, well, they're 12 to be 13. They got miles, I don't know where they got those miles. But the one in Miami called me one day. She was upset with her mother. And she called me, she said, Granddaddy, I said, yes, before I could say this, I said, yes, dear, you need to talk to your daughter. Which is her mother. No, first I need to talk to you. Then I'll talk to your mother. Folk will actually disown you when they hate you. The father recognized immediately, yes, he said, it's my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten. Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes and dressed himself in burlap. He mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. I will go to my grave mourning my son, he would say, and then he would weep. Now here's what you need to understand. We see this as a setback. And look how it affected everybody. It affected his brothers. It affected his dad. Now the fact that Joseph, and here's the key as I get ready to go. Here's the key to it. What was a setback for Joseph was a comeback for his brothers. What we see as a setback. That's why I say there are no such things as setbacks. There are things that God wants us to go through so he can get us to where we need to be. It's a lesson learned. Now, so his father's grieving. Joseph goes from this happy little boy that's going to rule the world, and now his world is thrown into chaos. And then, if the Lord says the same, next week we'll go to the next exciting episode. Isn't that what you see TV? The next exciting. So what's going to happen to Joseph? He's been sold. His brothers at home telling his dad the lie that he was destroyed. They're happy. The dad is sad. We've seen it up. We see it down. Go home and read the rest of it. You see what's going to happen next. If you don't, I'll tell you next Sunday. So, in conclusion for this week, I want you to understand that you're going to go through some stuff in life. Amen. It does not mean that the Father does not love you. It may very well be your brothers and sisters, literally, or it may be your brothers and sisters in Christ that's going to put you through it. But just know God has somebody in the family that's looking out for you. That one person, and what I've learned is, it's not always the people that you expect to come to your rescue. It's the folk you thought would never come to your rescue. They come to your rescue. It's those folk that, as I talked about last week, it's those folk that are your ride or die. You don't even know it, but they're riding shotgun when you don't even know it. They got you back. while other folks are stabbing you in the back. Elder, would you come and make ready to stand the invitation so that folk can make a decision about what we talked about. But if you don't get anything else out of this, don't get too happy when you're up. Don't get too sad when you're down. Because it's always going to be that way. We'll see the rest of Joseph's life in the rest of this series, but don't look at anything as a setback. Look at it as a part of the process that God is taking you through to get you where he wants you to be. I love you. God bless you. I got to go, and we'll see you next Sunday. The Lord says the same.
It was a roller coaster. Up and down, and twisting and turning and doing all kinds of things. You're kind of holding your breath and you pull up. When you start coming back down, you holler, woo! Hard fall and everything else. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the roller coaster's going to come off the way or the night. All you know is you could ride. Life is a ride. Life is a ride. If God wants to lead us through everything, we go through all kinds of trials and tribulations, God is still leading us. We go through dangerous things, God is still leading us. We go through happy moments, and after that, we come to a downfall. God is leading us nevertheless. You heard the message. If you believe in it, and you know that you have sinned, and you want to be a child of God, and you repent of your sin, put out of the water of grave of baptism, become a child of God, nothing more and nothing less.
All right now.
That reveals to me how you feel. And I got news for you. I'm not bragging, I'm not boasting, but if God blesses me, however he blesses me, I'm just going to thank him. Take the task he has assigned me and work on it. Because while I'm trying to fix folks that are behind your back, while you're trying to fix folks that are behind your back, lying and conniving, that's time you can spend doing God's work. You don't have time to chase down the detractors. Now, he goes, and when Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. And as he approached, they made plans. Isn't that tragic? Now, Joseph has gone from being that little boy that's loved to death by his dad to being sent into a den of wolves who are his brothers. Isn't that something? He was up, now he's on his way down. Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal is eating. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams. We would all possibly see this as a setback. But watch God at work. Watch God at work. I'm not going to get too far into this. But what happens now is God begins to come to his rescue. When Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. Let's not kill him, he said. Why should we shed any blood? He says, now, let me give you an alternative. See, sometimes folk try to get you the least of two evils. Reuben said, let's not kill him. Let's get rid of him another way. I'm so glad that there's somebody that will always come to your rescue when folk are trying to kill you. Do I have a witness? There's always somebody that will come to your rescue that knows the plot and will not allow you to be destroyed. Amen. God always has somebody, because what they didn't understand is they killed Joseph, the whole lineage of Christ is going to be messed up. You can't mess up what God has already planned. Let's just throw him into the empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying hands on him. Joseph was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. Again, you can't tell folk everything you got in mind. You cannot tell folk. Reuben said, we'll put him in the cistern. He'll die. But what he didn't tell him was, we're going to put him in the cistern, and when y'all leave, I'm coming to get him out. Don't always think folk are trying to harm you. Sometimes folk are taking you out of harm's way, but you just don't realize it. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off his beautiful robe he was wearing. That tells you right there, they hated him. They couldn't, you know, when you walk in, sometimes folk ripping your clothes off you with their eyes. Then they grabbed him and threw him in the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. God at work again. Because the cistern was just a well. Now what if they had thrown him in a well with water in it? When God puts us in a downward cycle, don't you know God is in all of this? Even though folk are doing it, God is still, we got to go through some stuff to develop us into the people we need to be. And so there was no water in it. Then they, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming toward them. It was a group of Ishmaelites, traders, taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Isn't it funny how folk can destroy you and sit down and eat after they do? It doesn't even bother you. They can sit down and have a good meal at your expense. Then Joseph said to his brothers, what will we gain by killing our brother? Judah rather says, we have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelite traders. And after all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. Now, isn't that rationalizing? We won't kill him, we'll just sell him. Because he's our brother. So when the Ishmaelites, who were the Midianite traders, came by Joseph's brothers, pulled him up out of the system and sold him for 20 pieces of silver. Now, what does that sound like? You remember what happened to Jesus? At least they gave you a little bit more for Jesus. And the traders took him to Egypt. Now that's where the story was. Sometime later, Reuben returned to get Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, the boy is gone. What will I do now? Then the brothers killed a young goat, dipped Joseph's blood robe in blood. People can deny it. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message. Look at what we found. Doesn't this robe belong? Now watch the verbiage here. Doesn't this robe belong to your son? Yeah. Folk would treat you like you anything but kinfolk. Yeah. Your mama. One of my granddaughters, those two 13-year-olds, they got miles, well, they're 12, they'll be 13. They got miles, I don't know where they got those miles. But the one in Miami called me one day, she was upset with her mother. And she called me, she said, Granddaddy, I said, yes, before I said, I said, yes, dear, you need to talk to your daughter. Which is her mother. No, first I need to talk to you. Then I'll talk to your mother. Folk will actually disown you when they hate you. The father recognized immediately, yes, he said, it's my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten. Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes and dressed himself in burlap. He mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. I will go to my grave mourning my son, he would say, and then he would weep. Now here's what you need to understand. We see this as a setback. And look how it affected everybody. It affected his brothers. It affected his dad. Now the fact that Joseph, and here's the key as I get ready to go. Here's the key to it. What was a setback for Joseph was a comeback for his brothers. What we see as a setback That's why I say there are no such things as setbacks. There are things that God wants us to go through so he can get us to where we need to be. It's a lesson learned. Now, so his father's grieving. Joseph goes from this happy little boy that's going to rule the world, and now his world is thrown into chaos. And then, if the Lord says the same, next week we'll go to the next exciting episode. Is that what you see TV? The next exciting. So what's going to happen to Joseph? He's been sold. His brothers at home telling his daddy the lie that he was destroyed. They're happy. The dad is sad. We've seen it up. We see it down. Go home and read the rest of it. You see what's going to happen next. If you don't, I'll tell you next Sunday. If the Lord says so, in conclusion for this week, I want you to understand that you're going to go through some stuff in life. Amen. It does not mean that the Father does not love you. It may very well be your brothers and sisters, literally, or it may be your brothers and sisters in Christ that's going to put you through it. But just know God has somebody in the family that's looking out for you. That one person, and what I've learned is, it's not always the people that you expect that come to your rescue. It's the folk you thought would never come to your rescue. They come to your rescue. It's those folk that, as I talked about last week, it's those folk that are your ride or die. You don't even know it, but they ride shotgun when you don't even know it. They got you back, while other folk are stabbing you in the back. Hold up, would you come and get ready to stand the invitation so that folk can make a decision about what we talked about. But if you don't get anything else out of this, don't get too happy when you're up. Don't get too sad when you're down. Because it's always going to be that way. We'll see the rest of Joseph's life in the rest of this series, but don't look at anything as a setback. Look at it as a part of the process that God is taking you through to get you where he wants you to be. I love you. God bless you. I got to go, and we'll see you next Sunday if the Lord says the same.
I took a roller coaster, up and down, and twisting and turning and doing all kinds of stuff.